welcome to Inside Eastern Utah. Today we have a great guest, Captain Bill Barnes from the Price City Police Department. Bill has been on the Price City Police Force for 33 years and the captain for the last 5 years. Is that, I got to check my information and make sure. And you are also the Drug Task Force Commander right now, the Carbon Metro Drug Task Force, and you've had 2 prior tours with that
Right,
as
I
well.
had 2 prior tours as an actual agent working, doing the actual work.
Yes, and now you're the commander of the task force.
Which just means I shuffle the paperwork and hand out money and things like that. So.
You have the not so fun part of being there, huh?
Well, it's pretty entertaining to watch our guys work. They do a really good job.
Yeah.
So.
Yes, and they actually got honored for some of their work recently at a conference you guys attended. Is that right?
Right. There's a yearly Narcotics Officers Association for the state of Utah. And so there's approximately 300 to 400 officers, depending on the year, that converge for 1 week and receive lots of training and a lot of updates. You know, the current things that are going. We learn about equipment, but we learn about tactics, techniques, different rulings, court rulings, things like that. And so it's really a good 3-4 days of training that the officers receive during that week.
And that's in Vegas, isn't it?
It's in Mesquite.
Mesquite, okay. Well, I knew there was a little bit of gambling you could do while you're there if you felt ambitious, but I was close.
For those who do that sort of thing.
Yeah, Bill's probably on the golf course more than likely, but.
Well, yeah, they're pretty tight about it. They have sign-up sheets morning and afternoon, and there's so we avoid those problems. You know that you're not where you're supposed to be.
Well, tell us a bit about, in specific, what the awards were that the Carbon Metro received.
Well, sure. You know, usually the work that the agents do there is usually unrecognized because by the nature of the work and the ongoing aspects of it, you can't talk about it publicly what they do. But we had a couple of great cases that came to light and finished up, and the officers ended their tours with the task force and went back to their respective departments and have now been replaced by other people who are the agents now. So it was time to recognize those people for the great work they did. And first there was Deputy Mike Adams from the Carbon County Sheriff's Office. He was an agent. And then Officer Stephen Regrudo, who has since become Sergeant Stephen Regrudo with Price City Police Department. But they did 2 really good cases with significant drug dealers in our area that really had a lot of negative impact on our community and people's lives. The cases were so significant that they were able to work with federal authorities, and so federal prosecution took over. And you know, people involved in the drug world, they're people too. You know, they're just people. But you know, sometimes you cross a line that's so bad and it's so significant that the feds were willing to take the case, and one person actually got 7.5 years in prison, one got 10 years in prison. Wow. And so those people are out of our community. That's a big impact. And then the particular cases that they worked against, both individuals recovered tens of thousands of dollars, all kinds of drugs, lots of weapons and things like that. So at any rate, they were recognized for that series of investigations, and they just did you know, fabulous work. So that was a good thing. Then, in particular, on one of the cases, we recognized basically a rookie deputy because you know, when a search warrant occurs, you have a number of people come and help to do the search and handle the scene and things like that. Well, nothing was being found. A few minor things were being found. Well, this rookie, who's Brandon Wilson, happened to have some expertise in carpentry and that sort of stuff, and he noticed a really well-hidden secret wall in the house, and all of a sudden undid a couple of latches and
There it
bang,
was.
there's the stuff, there's the load that the agents were looking for. So we thought that was important to recognize no matter your level of experience, you can still have a significant contribution
Sure.
on any given day. So he was recognized.
Yes, and I
Yeah,
think that's what's
that's really
important
cool.
about the task force too, is it's a lot of agencies all working together. It's not just two agents that are doing
Right.
all of the work.
Right, and that, you know, everybody comes together to help, and so depending on where things occur, but every agency is involved in our community. So you could have officers from any department helping, you know. And then the final award we had was recognizing our SWAT team, because the commander of the SWAT team is currently Sergeant Rick Adams, and he had also previously been an agent at the task force. But they do really good work when we have reason to do it. We get what's called a no-knock search warrant, you know, if the court approves that. And in the one case in particular, 2 search warrants were executed at this residence. They had surveillance equipment, they had weapons available to use, and the information, you know, was relayed that, hey, they would use that. Well, long story short, the SWAT team successfully breached the residence and was able to get in, and everybody was safe, you know, including the suspects, and that's our aim. We don't want anybody getting hurt with these things. We want to take care of business, but they should be recognized and commended for doing such a good job. And in particular, the second go around, you know, they had ramped up their precautions against police entry into the home if that were to ever occur, you know. So anyway, they just did a fabulous job, and of course, Rick is the current commander of the SWAT team, so he's the one that, you know, makes a lot of the plans, calls some shots, and organizes all of that. So anyway, it was a good year for
Certainly
the
sounds like
Carbon
it.
Metro Drug Task Force. So that, and they just do a great job. It's fun to sit back and watch them protect our community.
Yes,
So-
they're doing a great job.
I agree.
Definitely
Sure.
well deserved. So let's take this in a little bit of a different direction, which I think a lot of people are interested in right now, is the needle exchange program. I know there's been a lot of controversy on it. Can you tell us a bit about the stance Price City Police has, and what your role might play into this?
Well, I guess let me handle the question backwards. Our role is we'll do whatever the legislature says. You know, we will, we change according to whatever laws they pass and that sort of thing. So based on what the law says, that's where we're at. And, you know, people will interpret it, attorneys will interpret it, and then we follow the rules. And again, you know, I want to preface this by saying there's a lot of good people that I consider to be my friends, you know, who probably have different opposing views on the value of this program. I think by and large, in our area, law enforcement is opposed to the needle exchange program. I think that's safe to say. Now, on the one hand, you know, the aim is to prevent the spread of disease. Who could possibly be against that? We're all for
I
that.
agree. Yeah.
However, there are a lot of unintended consequences that will and have already resulted from the needle exchange program. And these are our fears for our citizens in Carbon County area. So the very first thing is you give somebody a needle. That means they are going to go and hook up and get their heroin or their meth, and they are now committing a misdemeanor. And there was recently a report on KSL TV about this, and the one spokesperson said, people don't understand, people using heroin may hit up 15, 20 times a day. That means 15, 20 times a day, we are now committing misdemeanors, that one person. How is that a good thing? I don't understand that. And now that clean needle has become paraphernalia for them. Then the trickle down, and we're trying to see the big picture here, the trickle down is that person supplying the heroin or the meth is committing felony distribution. How is that a good thing? It's a supply and demand thing, and now we've Now we're part of the market because we've created the market.
Yep.
And somebody will bring the supply in. And so now we have a network that is in your neighborhood, my neighborhood.
Absolutely.
It's wherever the people are, okay? Then another sad fact, it's going to happen. Somebody is going to overdose using some of that equipment.
A clean needle.
And
that
so
was-
how is that a good thing? Now, if they don't overdose, we have all seen the result. And it's just a horrible result when people are involved in heroin or meth for so many years. It destroys their lives, it takes their soul, and this impacts their entire family. And like I said before, they're people just like any of us. They have families, they have moms and dads, we all know them. It comes practically to the point where every one of those people, the only person that cares about them is their mom. And that's a sad place to end up. Their lives are a wreck. I'm not going to say the name, but there's a very poignant series of Facebook posts by a young woman locally who has been an addict, who came out of it. She actually came out of it because she got caught in an undercover sting. It actually happened that Sergeant Rick Adams was the undercover agent on that case. That was the beginning of turning her life around and to her journey back to sobriety. A lot of people don't make that journey.
don't.
And they don't know the how seedy the lifestyle can get to be and where it takes people. Now, then it's always going to involve deception, theft from those dearest to you, you know. All of our businesses experience theft. It's going to involve violence sooner or later in their lives. You know, they're probably going to be on the receiving end of that. And then they very often don't want to report these issues to police because
Right.
they're in trouble doing bad things, you know. So this is all part of the big thing that we
Sure.
see as police officers. Then the final point is, when you're in that state of mind, when you're in that lifestyle, about the last thing you're thinking about is our local ecological concerns. They don't properly dispose of needles. The KSL report documented it so well.
It did, I agree.
And the day is coming that an
Well,
innocent person
Is gonna get
is
poked.
going to suffer a stick. And let me you know, I got stuck on the job one time. I grabbed a bundle of needles and one was sideways. And I'd been through the protocol of worrying for X number of months. Are you sick? Getting the shots necessary to try to prevent that. The people were known. It was a husband and wife duo, a week out of prison, both Hep C positive, and so we knew it was a dangerous thing, you know.
Well, see, and
Well-
you know the protocol,
I-
but what about people just
Well,
walking down the street and kids and
Absolutely.
You know,
I-
it's just
Participated in the Day of Caring last Saturday, this a couple days ago. We were cleaning up weeds at all the canal crossings. That's what my crew was working on. Right across the street from Pinnacle, 6th East. I'm pointing, our viewers have no idea where we're at. We're in our studio. But 6th East, we found two needles in the
Right.
weeds and two
Right by the
syringes
school.
right by the school. Yeah, you're right. Someone
And-
is going to get
And they will
poked.
be everywhere, and that's, you know, officers, deputies, troopers, we know what to do when
Right.
you're confronted with that. Most municipal city workers, you know, they've been trained in how to
Good.
properly retrieve those and then dispose of them for safety reasons. But, you know, most people will react, ooh, what's that? Or someone particularly who's younger or a kid,
A
ooh,
child.
what's that?
Yeah.
Or you could
They're
just
curious.
lay down and ooh, what's that prick, you know, and all of a sudden there's a problem. It's going to happen. And so I don't want to be part of that.